Mikado City, population 280,000. One day, a gate to another world opened here. This is the ominous opening line to Daisuke Ashihara's 2013 manga, World Trigger. Now, this series is still ongoing. Currently, it's up to chapter 260. It is a monthly publication, which does make reading it and keeping up kind of more interesting. I don't feel like I'm going to fall behind if I don't read one immediately. But what it also does is it gets you built up for the next one coming. Now, Toei has announced a new anime version of this series, which already got an anime as far back as 2014. However, that first season, which is really kind of 2 seasons put together, and then season 2 went all the way through 2022. So it looks like they're going to go back and redo the whole thing. So in preparation for that, let's talk about World Trigger. What's going on? How does it work? And what can we expect in this new iteration of the anime that we didn't get in the original? So this story does take place in the fictionalized Mikado City. As these interdimensional gates are opened, beings from the other side come through that we refer to as neighbors. We also refer to the entire space through these interdimensional gates as the neighborhood. There are so many different creatures and civilizations living in the neighborhood that it's really hard to determine which ones are attacking us and which ones aren't. So we're obviously cautious about every individual that comes through. That's where things get interesting, because we start with our protagonists, Osamu Mikumo and Yuma Kuga. Now, Osamu is a native to Mikado City. However, Yuma has just moved here from the neighborhood. Now, he's trying to keep that under wraps, but the one thing his father told him is if anything were to happen to him, he should immediately go to Border. Now, Border is the organization that is attempting to contain these gates. Border showed up at the same time these gates did, which calls into question who are they, why are they here, and how did they know? But more importantly, their entire staff, minus the few that showed up when it first started, are all residents of Mikado City, including Osamu Mikumo. As you can see the conflict here, a border agent meeting a neighbor who actually wants to meet Border. And so that's where our story kicks off. Now, we know the neighbors are coming here for a multitude of reasons, one of which is to actually abduct other humans. Now, why would they want humans? Is it slaves, other things? No. Actually, there's an energy source called Tryon. So Tryon is actually the energy source that is inside of people and objects and other things in all of the dimensions. Now that we know this interdimensional technology exists, we're able to measure Tryon. And each human being has their own Tryon level. Some people have large amounts and some people have very small amounts. Most of border agents are typically average amounts of Tryon. But having a large amount is actually what makes you a target for a lot of these neighbors. See, a lot of their technology and civilizations run on Tryon. So they're always looking for new sources of it, and we just happen to be a pretty good source. So how do we fight back against these beings using this Tryon energy? Well, we got to use Tryon of our own. Border is made up of several agents from the Mikado City area. All of these agents are equipped with a device known as a trigger. Now, what a trigger does is it channels Tryon energy into transmuting your body into one of pure Tryon. Now, these pure Tryon bodies act exactly as your own body. The only difference is when they take damage, you don't lose parts of your body or blood or anything, and you don't get concussed or whatever else could happen to you. You just start to lose Tryon. And if your Tryon runs out, then yeah, your real body comes back. But until such that time, you're a Tryon body. So that's how Border fights back against these interdimensional beings that we do call neighbors. Now, you obviously would ask, well, if you're a Tryon body and you're out there and you run out of Tryon, your physical body's just there. So what do? That's where the genius comes into play. Border has developed a system known as the bailout system. What the bailout system does is it monitors Tryon levels. And once your Tryon levels get critical, it forces you to return to base by converting you into Tryon energy and teleporting you back to Border HQ. The bailout system functions to not only protect the soldiers that fight in this war, but also to ensure that, you don't lose a limb or anything. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't stakes. Yes, there are still people who do get hurt, whether the bailout function fails or someone goes into battle without a trigger. But what this does mean is it does protect the majority of the force, which does happen to be teenagers. So why teenagers? Why put kids in harm's way at all? Well, everyone who goes into Border is a volunteer, as well as needing their parents to sign off on it. But typically, the people who go into Border service are the ones with the most Tryon. And it's a lot easier to train someone who's 16, 17, and 18 for war than it is someone who's, I don't know, in their late 30s. But the bailout system, as well as the Tryon body, tend to protect most people. And so this is just the nature of reality. This is war in Mikado City. They don't have the luxury of saying, nah, kids don't have to fight. A lot of these kids get attacked and they have to know how to defend themselves. And that's why having triggers and having an understanding of how Tryon works really helps and benefits them. So you have a trigger and it replaces your body. So if you're a body made of pure energy, are you just shooting other energy bodies with bullets? Well, no, you have to shoot them with Tryon. And this works by implanting in the trigger different devices that work just the same as any other conventional weapons would, except they're made completely of Tryon. Now, there are different weapons they use, such as the sword, which they call Kogetsu, or one of the sniper rifles, which is the Ibis. These different weapons can be attached and rearranged and loaded out with different ammunition types, depending on the person using it. It's all about personality and understanding you, the way you fight, and everything else. Every person in Border who is on a squad who goes into combat is separated in groups of 1 to 4. That is your squad. Squads consist of a captain, usually one of the 4 members, and then each member has their own role in combat. There are different combat roles such as attacker, all-rounder, shooter, sniper, gunner, trapper, and there's one called a spotter. We actually haven't seen what a spotter does, but we can kind of imagine what they could do just based on the name spotter. But all of these groups fight combining different elements to make up different teams. Now, different squads use all kinds of loadouts. Some of them are all attackers, some of them are all gunners, some all snipers, but typically they tend to be a good mix of each of the one. Now, each squad doesn't just go in blind. They actually have a 5th member called an operator who remains at headquarters. Now, the operator's job is to monitor the map, also include real-time data to all of the people in the field, watch for Tryon spikes, as well as monitor the Tryon in each of the bodies of the squad members. Ultimately, the operator's job is to protect and conserve the group that's in combat. Now, what's really cool is each squad gets its own emblem and its own design. Everything can be programmed into the trigger. So you could program in different styles of clothes, different styles of hair, face, whatever. Some female characters will use it to shorten their hair, so it's less of a deterrent in battle. Some people will use it to just look cool, like Suwa, who has a Tryon cigarette in his mouth for no reason. Can't smoke it, can't do anything with it. It's just there. It looks cool to him, so hey, that's how it goes. Now, Border isn't just combat agents. There are other individuals, such as engineers, who work on maintaining the defense systems of Border, as well as working on new triggers and updated technology for all of the field units to use. You also have your chiefs and administrators who are there to ensure that everything goes smoothly. You know, no organization is good without its admin. Now, all of these squads are broken up based on their rank. Squads are C rank, B rank, or A rank. It's really simple to follow. C rank tend to be trainees and rookies, people who are there to observe and train day to day in the Border infrastructure. Whereas B rank agents tend to do things such as guard duty, quick response when neighbors come through, and then A ranks do all of these things, but also train as well as enter the neighborhood in order to assess the situation there, go on rescue missions, as well as go into battle. Now, to rank up in the Border system, it isn't just about achievement and everything like that. No, you have to go prove it on the battlefield against other Border agents. Within the Border facility are huge rooms which have near unlimited Tryon being generated in order to tap into and use. They use these to mock and simulate combat situations against each other, living, thinking beings, but made of Tryon. They call these the rank wars. And what the rank wars determine is what level unit you are. As you move up the B ranks, you eventually have the opportunity to challenge an A rank team to take their place. If you want to go to the neighborhood, if you have business there, then you have got to be an A rank participant. Now, some combatants have an additional advantage that others don't, called a side effect. Now, side effects happen because of Tryon, whether you have a large amount or you've been exposed to a large amount. They augment the human body in ways that we typically wouldn't think possible. For example, Kuga, his side effect is that he can tell when people are lying. Not that he can tell when heart rates increase or when different stress levels happen. No, he just knows. It's intuitive. It's Tryon based. It's very strange. Things that we really can't comprehend. There's another character named Ko Murakami where if he could learn something, say he wanted to learn a certain kind of math. Well, if he could learn it, if he were to put all the time in to learn this, and it would be something he could learn, he would just need to see it once, go to sleep, and then wake up, and he already knows how to do it. Probably the most handy one, but again, there is that negative that it has to be something he can actually do. If he couldn't understand math, then it wouldn't matter how many times he went to sleep, he would just wake up still having no idea what to do. We follow Border's fight with the neighbors through the eyes of Osamu Mikumo and Yuma Kuga. The two of them form a team along with Chika Amatori and operator Shiori Usami in order to become A rank and make it into the neighborhood. Now, why would they want to go into the neighborhood? Each of them has their own reasons. Osamu is actually trying to protect Chika because her older brother, who was Osamu's tutor, was lost in the neighborhood. And he wants to be able to bring him back as well as keep neighbors from stalking Chika. Now, why would they stalk her? It turns out she has one of the largest amounts of Tryon that any person on Earth has. Not just in Mikado City, on Earth. So he wants to protect Chika, but Chika also wants to go find a friend of hers who was kidnapped by neighbors. She believes that this friend was kidnapped while the neighbors were coming after her. Yuma wants to help Osamu and Chika make it into the neighborhood as well as be their guide since he's actually from the neighborhood. His dad left him some information. He comes to Border, he has a conversation, and his goal is to help them. Now, Usami, as their operator, really has no desire to go into the neighborhood, but she's always going to be there to support them and do what is necessary to help protect her team. So what makes World Trigger stand out as a manga? Well, it has really great fights, but the fights aren't predicated on, hey, let's get stronger, let's get bigger, let's get faster. They're actually predicated on, let's get smarter. Now, what do I mean by that? The whole point of battles in this particular manga are based around strategy. Who has the best strategy? Who has the best mind? Who can adapt to the battlefield the best? And that's what's kind of fun. So Osamu doesn't have a very large Tryon level. He actually has a below average amount. But what he lacks in Tryon, he makes up for it in his ability to strategize and have tact. It's a really fun way of exploring, hey, I'm going to punch that guy in the face, but rather than just walk up and punch somebody, let's talk about how do we get close? How do we control the battlefield? How do we ensure that our attack leads to victory and their attack leads to their own downfall? It's a really fun concept, and I would say World Trigger is probably the best at it. So World Trigger did have an anime that ran from 2014 to 2022. However, a lot of World Trigger fans don't consider it a good adaptation. It's fine for what it is. It does have a filler arc that's totally unnecessary and actually undercuts the story as a whole. But there's a lot of fun stuff, and I definitely recommend giving it a watch. Now, when you watch it, it is going to end at an area where you're thinking, oh, I hope there's a season 3. Well, there's not. What's going to end up happening is we're getting a new version where season 1 is being completely redone. It is possible that they not only redo season 1, but they redo season 1, keep the original season 2 because it was phenomenal, and then just produce a season 3 beyond that. My hope is that they actually bring back all the voice actors, both Japanese and English, because a lot of these characters, in my mind, that's just who they are, that's what they sound like. I know whatever new voice cast they get is going to be great, but I do kind of hope it's the old one. So we'll see what happens with World Trigger. It is being done by Toei Animation Studios. They have announced it. We don't have any dates yet, but hopefully it's a lot of fun. So with that said, that's World Trigger in a nutshell. Very short, very brief, very let's get to the point. If you want more detailed information about World Trigger, you want me to make a video about characters, individual arcs, battles, if you want me to do chapter reviews, let me know in the comments. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think, share this with your friends. I already have some ideas for new manga that I want to kind of do these quick overview synopsis of, but you let me know what you want in the comments and I'll make sure that I read through them, and I'll see you next time.